Now, if you watch my videos, the 4 of you out there, know that I've already reviewed the Razer Blade 15 base and Razer Blade 15 advanced model. And a lot of you guys, like 2 of you, have asked me to compare that to the MSI GS66. And I thought that was a good comparison because these laptops not only look alike, but offer very similar features. Now, in terms of like build quality and design, I feel like the GS66 is slowly starting to merge and look a lot like the Razer Blade 15. They've gone every year to more of a stealthy black matte look, and it's just getting closer and closer to what the Blade 15 looks like. Build quality, I'm still gonna give it to the Blade 15. Like, this just feels solid. This feels solid too, but you can tell there's some compromises in order to reduce the price. Like, for one, this is not one piece of CNC machined aluminum. You have little gaps here. Like, for example, the bottom of the deck is a little piece of plastic, and I know what it's for. It's basically to protect the device when you close the lid so it doesn't scratch, but it takes away from the look. The other thing is the display. The Razer Blade 15 can only open up a certain way, whereas the MSI GS66 can go all 180 degrees. Now, why would you want to use your display at 180 degrees? Beats me. But if you're that type of individual that wants that feature, you're only gonna get it with the GS66. The other thing to note is one-handability. Both of these laptops can be opened up with one hand if that's something you need to know. And both of these laptops are under 5 pounds, or around 5 pounds. I think the Razer Blade 15 is slightly heavier. The hinge system on both devices are very stiff. I'm not worried about wobble, but if you wanna know which one is slightly stiffer, it's definitely the Razer Blade 15. Port situation is also very similar. They both have 2 USB Type-C ports, with one of them being Thunderbolt 3. They both have multiple USB ports with an audio jack and of course an HDMI port. The only thing to know is that if you get the advanced model from Razer, you have the ability to get an SD card slot, whereas the MSI GS66 gives you a network jack instead. Now, you can get a network jack with the Razer Blade 15, but you have to buy the base model instead of the advanced model. Upgradability is slightly better on the MSI GS66 because no matter which model you choose, no matter what spec it is, you have the option to have 2 drives in here. If you want 2 drives with the Razer Blade 15, you gotta get the base model, but then you lose out on a bigger battery. These 2 drives, one of them is populated, the other is open for you to expand it sometime down the road. Both of these devices have 2 slots for RAM, upgradable to 64 gigabytes. They both have swappable Wi-Fi cards, and they both take a different way of keeping their laptops cool. The base model of the Blade 15 uses a simple heat pipe and fan solution, just like MSI, whereas the advanced model incorporates a vapor chamber solution. Battery life is better on the MSI version. Because they made it taller, they're able to cram more inside of here. So with that, you get a 99 watt-hour battery compared to 80 watt-hours on the Blade 15. Now, since we're talking displays, these are both 300 hertz panels. In fact, I actually think they're from the same manufacturer. I'm seeing 0 difference in terms of color accuracy, gamut, and brightness. And even though 300 hertz is a high refresh rate, and it's very hard to get 300 frames per second to match it, these panels are just better than the previous generation. They have a lower response time, and they have better color accuracy and gamut than the 144 hertz displays we've seen from last year. Now, showing performance between these 2 laptops is kind of tough just because this is the 2080 Supermax Q and this is the 2070 Supermax Q, but both of these GPUs are performing exactly how they should. In fact, the 2080 Supermax Q is not a huge upgrade over the 2080 Max Q. In fact, in some games, this comes very, very close in terms of frames per second compared to this guy. In terms of CPU performance, this is obviously giving you higher multi-core clock speeds just because it has 2 extra cores, whereas this one is neck and neck with the base model since they both use 6 cores. Where things get very interesting is when it comes to heat management. The MSI GS66 definitely allows the laptop to run hotter. It gets to 90 degrees sometimes it goes over, and sometimes you'll see it power throttle or even thermal throttle to bring those temperatures back down. Is it overheating and causing issues and frame drops? No. The Blade, on the other hand, is super conservative. You'll never see this laptop get hotter than 80 to 83 degrees Celsius. And this leads me to believe that longevity with the Blade 15 should be better than the GS66. What's also better is fan noise. This never gets over 55 decibels when it's under full load. I find the Blade is constantly kicking the fans on more often than it needs to be, and when it's under full load, it gets closer to 60 decibels. Now the keyboards are kind of on the same level. They both support per key RGB. The layouts are a bit different. I think the Blade 15 looks cleaner. You have this massive shift key, which is new to this year's lineup, which is a lot easier to access, especially if you're a right shifter like myself. You also have 2 function keys instead of 1 function key that's been crammed together with the control key. What MSI has done is they tried to cram in a home, page up, and page down key, and they had to sacrifice some spacing on the keyboard. For gaming, I'd rather use the keyboard on the Blade 15, but for typing, because the keys are bigger, I'd rather use the GS66. Trackpads on both are fantastic, Windows Precision. You do get more vertical space with the Blade 15 compared to horizontal space on the GS66. So here's the bottom line. If you are a hardcore gamer and you're looking to squeeze as much performance for the dollar, you're better off going with the 6-core MSI GS66. You don't need 8 for gaming. You won't see a performance difference. And because this is priced lower, you can spec this with higher components for the dollar. Yes, you'll be sacrificing a little bit of build quality, but you'll gain more battery life. The Blade 15, on the other hand, is fantastic for gamers and content creators. You get slightly better build quality, you get an SD card slot, and you get the better speakers. I hope that clears things up for you guys. If you have any more questions, let me know in the comment section down below. I stream on Twitch every second night, so you can hit me up there or on Discord. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video.